Well, hello, everybody. This is Meagan Pinkney back with Joseph's Ministry podcast. We meet every first Thursday of every month, and here we are again. Yes, we did take a pause last month, but I usually like to give myself and my team a break so that we can enjoy the summer. We want to be able to enjoy family life and travel and do all the things that your heart's desire to do. But just like most of you, we took a little pause last month, but we are back here again, excited to share with you information and wisdom to help you on your entrepreneur and authorship journey. Okay, we're super excited to be here. So many of you have reached out to me during our break and say you have been listening in and you have been watching the podcast, and it has been a blessing to you. So that's the main reason why we're doing this. Okay, it's to share my journey with you guys so that you can learn from my mistakes. Okay, so if you remember from our last episode, I started a new topic, specifically talking to my authors. Okay, so I started talking about what it looks like to become and to be a 3D author. Okay, what does that mean and how do you become one? Okay, I've learned some things along my authorship journey that I just wanted to share and pass along to you guys. So the first D that I shared in this 3D author is being highly dedicated to your process. Everybody's process is different. Everybody's journey is different, but the key is to be dedicated to yours and do whatever you need to do to stay on your path. Okay, so if you want more information about what that looks like and how you can apply that to your own journey, make sure you go check out our previous episode on being a 3D author. Okay, so today we're going to keep the train moving and we are going to talk about another D. Okay, this is more like a cuss word to some people, but being highly disciplined. Okay, I know no one wants to be disciplined, but it is important for authors to be disciplined on your journey. If you do a simple Google search on the word discipline, it will simply show you that discipline means showing a controlled form of behavior or way of working. I'll read that again. Discipline means showing a controlled form of behavior or way of working. So what does that mean and how does that relate to being an author? Let me tell you, life be lifing sometimes. Would you agree? So you're thinking like, I have a whole family, I got kiddos, I am married, I got work, I got businesses. How am I supposed to sit down and have enough time to do all of that and still talk about write a book? I totally understand. So I want to give you some tips on how you can be highly disciplined on your authorship journey. So when we're talking about finding the time, that's the biggest thing. Time is your greatest commodity when we're talking about being an author. You need time to write, okay? So the first tip I would say is prioritize your writing times. If you're going to say, hey, you know what? Mondays are not so busy for me, so I'm going to set aside at least an hour or two on Mondays to write. You're prioritizing your writing time. I can't tell you what that looks like. Everybody's day is different. Everybody's life is different. So whatever works for you, do that. Some people are highly effective in the morning. They're morning people, okay? But I know some people that are highly effective at night. They love to do everything at night, okay? So whatever works for you on your schedule, set that time. Let that be, if it's Monday, let it be Monday. If it's Tuesday, let it be Tuesday. But if it's Friday, let it be Friday. But you get to set that time and you prioritize your time to set aside time to write because it is important. What you don't want to do is say, you know what, I'm just going to, write when the kids are eating breakfast, or I'm going to write when it's, if it's a lot of movement going on and things like that, you may not get your top quality of writing. So you want to make sure that whatever time you set aside, you have your dedicated attention to write on whatever topic you're trying to write about, okay? It's important. If you are a journaler, if you love to journal, I love to journal personally, but if you're one of those people that love to journal and you can kind of, write for hours just journaling, do that. It doesn't have to be any structured format, in my opinion, as far as journaling, because you can always clean that up later during the publishing process. But just to get the thoughts out of your head, we can organize it later. But just to get the thoughts out of your head, journaling is an amazing idea. But again, it still takes discipline. When are you going to journal? When is the best time for you to set aside and prioritize that time to journal? For me, I'll give you a real life example. When I was writing my third book, By Faith, I remember the Holy Spirit really putting an urgency on the inside of me to finish this book. And by this time in my life, I had a lot going on. And I'm like, in my mind, like, how am I supposed to get all this done and still function, So I was like, Lord, I'm just praying and I asked the Holy Spirit, like, how am I supposed to do this? So he gave me the idea to think about gaps in my day, not when I'm tired, not when you're at the end of the day and you're like, okay, I gotta write. I'm barely can keep my eyes open. I just gotta write 2 sentences. That's not productive. Just go to bed, right? But I was like, what are gaps in my day where I'm energized, I'm focused, and it's just a night. It does not have to be 3 hours, but sometime. And you know what? I thought about my lunch break. At that time, I was working in a building where the upstairs was completely empty. And they moved everybody, all of the offices downstairs. And I knew that, okay, lunch break is a time where pretty much everybody goes out for lunch, but upstairs is always vacant. And there was a large conference room upstairs. So I was like, okay, I can bring my computer to work. And on my lunch breaks, I'm going to write for at least 45 minutes, uninterrupted, just me and my computer and my thoughts. I can do that. So I started doing that on my lunch breaks, going into the conference room and writing. And that's literally how I was able to finish By Faith on time, on schedule, how the Lord laid it out to me to do. But had I not prioritized that time, I don't think I would have been able to do it on time. Now, I think it would have eventually gotten done, obviously. But just having that set time was so key. I share these things because I know I'm not the only one that has to prioritize things, okay? You don't want to spend, half your day and half your time crying and crying about it and just say, I don't know what to do. I don't have time. Well, I'm trying to help. Prioritize. That's the thing. We're talking about being highly disciplined, right? So it's not going to come natural to most of us. It's not going to be an easy thing. But, of course, I wanted to go out for lunch. I wanted to go hang with my co-workers. I wanted to go run errands, but I had something to do. I had a goal in mind, right? So I had to be highly disciplined during that time and not complain to say I didn't have any time. While I did, it wasn't 5 hours in a row that I could spend doing it, but I had at least 45 minutes during the day. While I was fresh, I wasn't tired, I was motivated until I got the job done. And I'm glad to say that I was able to do that, okay? Another thing with prioritizing your writing times, but I would also say set goals for yourself. If you're writing a book and you may or may not have a deadline, set a deadline for yourself. You say, I want to be finished by this month. I want to be finished by this time, because that's going to put some, I'm not going to say false pressure, but it's going to give you some boost to say, hey, I set a goal. I need to finish this by such and such date, because you said it. No one called you and say you got to get it done, at such and such date, unless you are under contract by a publisher, things like that. But, just you wanting to write a book, you can set a goal for yourself and say, I want to get this book published on this date. I do the same thing when I talk to our clients that come to us, to Joseph's Ministry for book publishing. I always ask them the question, when do you desire for your book to be published? Because that's going to give me and my team something to work with, okay? And that's going to help us to be disciplined and prioritize projects. It works just in life in general. So if you have a goal set, say, I want to get my writing done by such and such month, by such and such time, let that be your pusher as well. And setting a goal and prioritizing your writing times, I'm telling you, you will set yourself up for success with no failures, okay? Another thing people always ask about is like writer's block. They ask me about that, and I'm like, I don't know what writer's block is. Obviously, I know what it is, but I always tell people, don't force yourself to write. Take breaks. It is okay to take a break. Walk away from the computer, an hour, a day, whatever you need to just kind of regroup and reset yourself. For me, one of the things that I've learned to do when I'm writing, and then I take a break and I stop and to go on to another task or whatever, when I pick back up writing, I literally reread everything that I've already written. That's going to help me get back in the same vein of what I was writing, okay? It's just like playing sports, like basketball. I played basketball in high school. You can you can start the game, you're good, you're playing up into halftime, and then you sit on the bench for like 15 minutes. You get cold. That's what they call it. I'm cold. I was a guard. So I'm like, you could get hot. You're making those shots, and all of a sudden you're sitting on the bench, you're getting cold. So you got to warm up again. You got to prime your thoughts, prime your writing again. So I reread everything that I've already written. I don't care if it's 100 pages, 50 pages, 2. I'm going to reread to get myself back into the vein of what I was writing, in the thought process, in the moment of when I was writing. That's going to help you tremendously to kind of keep the flow of how you are writing in the same thought process and things like that, especially if you were telling a story. You want to pick right back up with the same enthusiasm, pick back up in the same emotion that you had when you stopped writing. So you want to make sure that you take breaks when you need to take breaks. Please, by all means, do so. But make sure, again, my suggestion and what I've done and what I typically always do, reread your writings that you previously did to get back into the zone and the thought process of what you were writing before. Okay? So prioritize your time. Okay? Journal if you have to. Take breaks, set goals, and make sure you stick to your schedule. Okay? So regardless if you are writing your personal story or fictional story or whatever, everything in between, these principles do apply. You still have to be highly disciplined in your authorship journey. It is important. I am a living, breathing testimony that you can do it. I believe no one taught me. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anybody but the Holy Spirit giving me words to say. Okay? That is it. So I'm coming back to say to you that you can do it. Here at Joseph's Ministry, this is what we do. We coach people through the writing process to help you collect your thoughts, to outline and frame your manuscript. Those are some services that we provide. Of course, we do provide publishing, of course, to get your book out into the world. But that's what we do. That's the whole sole purpose of Joseph's Ministry, is to get you to your next level. Okay? So if that's you and you want to start your journey today, you say, Meagan, I just need a little nudge to help me get over this hump or to help me better understand, and I just want you to coach me, reach out to us. This is what we do. just go to our website at www.josephsministryllc.com, and I would love to be your coach to help you get to your next level. But I hope today that you have learned something. I have so much to share about just being an author, and I can literally talk about this all day. But I do want to keep these segments and these episodes short and sweet so that you can have enough to just bite on and just run with it. But if by chance you have any questions and you just want more, please, by all means, reach out to us, because this is why we are here. So I am so glad to be with you again for another episode. I hope that you can join us on our next episode as we continue to talk about what it means to be a 3D author. If you found any wisdom from this episode, make sure you share it. Share it on your YouTube. Tell people on Facebook. Send the link to people that you know that needs this information. Send it. Help us to share the good wisdom that we're sharing on these episodes, okay? So until we meet again, guys, next month, I look forward to talking with you soon.